mitzvot, Rabotai, that we don't get it. We think God only judges us for the big stuff. At the end of the day, we're only going to get caught for the small things. It's the small things that get us caught. There's a story in the Gemara, it's like about Metzia. I suggest everybody to learn this page 84 in the Gemara, Baba Metzia. It's a very interesting stories over there.
Wait, what was it? Which page?
Baba Metzia, page 84. And it says over there, one time, Rabbi Elazar, the son of Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, he was walking early in the morning, and he meets the Roman policeman. Back then, Israel was occupied by the Romans. It was called Palestine. They call it Palestine. And he sees how the Roman is catching people, putting him in jail, Jews. And Rabbi Elazar says, "Why are you putting him in jail? He didn't do anything." He says, "No, from the signs that I see, I think he's guilty." He says, "You're wrong. He's innocent." This is how am I supposed to catch the thieves? Back then, thieves, was a very big thing. Today, it's also a big thing. But today, it's easier to get caught. Back then, it was not so easy to get caught. They had fingerprints. They could tell who was that. Thievery was a very big business. Profession. It was Mamash was a profession. So Rabbi Elazar tells the Roman policeman, he tells him like this. He says, "I'm going to give you a small hint how to catch robbers. Just go into the cafe early in the morning, into Dunkin' Donuts. Whoever you're going to see over there, if you're going to see people falling asleep on the table, if he's a rabbi, what does that mean? He was learning all night, and he came for a cup of coffee, he fell asleep after shacharit. If you see it's a businessman, you know this guy's a businessman. What do you mean? What was he doing all night? He was going over his accounts. So, he came to get a cup of coffee, he fell asleep. But let's say you see a guy, those guys who just walk around all day, they do nothing. They sit on the benches eating sandwich cake. That guy is a thief. You could catch him. This is the sign you need to put him in jail." So the Romans were so impressed by him, they did it a couple of times, and they were checking them out, and they catch them in their houses, bunches of gold, diamonds, silver. These guys are real thieves. And this rabbi gives them the idea. So he said, "You're going to be, the DEA, the defense attorney. You're going to be like the chief police commissioner." They make Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai's son the police commissioner. So after a while, he catches a lot of Jewish thieves. And the Romans weren't so nice to thieves. What would they do to them? Either they would chop off his hands or they chop off his head. So one guy, he was a laundromat. Back then, where would they do laundry?
In the river.
In the river, where all the women used to go to the mikveh, bathe, and all this kind of stuff. So this laundromat guy looks at Rabbi Elazar and tells him, "You're vinegar, the son of wine." Why? Because your father was wine, it was Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, but you're vinegar. You're spoiled. You're catching Jews, putting them in jail. Rabbi Elazar got so upset, he says, "This guy is a thief, put him in jail." Without any thing, he gets upset. They put him in jail, and they hang him. And after a while, when his anger subsided, he felt bad what he did. So he goes under where they hung him, and he goes under his body, and he starts to cry. How he killed an innocent man because of his anger. One guy comes up to him, he says, "Rabbi, why are you crying so much?" You know who this guy was? Him and his son were with an engaged woman on Yom Kippur. Why are you crying? He's not only chayav mitah, he's chayav skira. What they gave him, the penalty was not enough. So Rabbi Elazar picked up his hands and he says, "Blessed are these hands. And Hashem, even when I make a mistake, I thought I made a mistake. I did not make a mistake." So one day, Rabbi Elazar is still the police commissioner, and the rabbis get upset at him. Why? Because he's being like a double agent. He's for the Romans, and he's also for the Jews, and he's a very big rabbi. The Gemara says the rabbis didn't want to learn Torah with him. They kicked him out of the yeshiva. We don't want to learn with you. Yeah, because you're a snitch. Rabbi Yeshua ben Korcha, who was the Rosh Yeshiva, who's a very interesting person. The Gemara says Rabbi Yeshua ben Korcha, one of the rabbis wanted to go and see what his Rebbe is doing at home. And he sees him running after his grandchildren on all fours, playing with him. His Rebbe, you're embarrassing us. This is how Rosh Hashiva acts, running on all fours after his grandchildren. And he said, Baruch Hashem that you see me doing this. This is what all you guys are supposed to do, he tells him. That's how you're supposed to act with your grandkids. Don't think you're somebody special. So Rabbi Yishua ben Korcha once tells Rabbi Elazar, you're vinegar, the son of wine. We don't want you here. Don't put Jews inside the jail. So Rabbi Elazar tells him, I'm cutting the weed from the garden. These aren't good people, these are thieves. So Rabbi Yeshua tells Rabbi Elazar, that's not your job to do. Let the master of the garden take care of the weeds by himself. You're not the master of the garden over here. So he was shunned out of the yeshiva. And the whole story there in the Gemara. Eventually the Gemara says that Rabbi Elazar decided one day to go back to the yeshiva. He was sick of learning alone. And that day, 60 women came to the yeshiva with 60 bedika cloths for the nidah. And all the rabbis said all 60 of them are what? Tameh. And Rabbi Elazar said all 60 of them are what? Kasher. How could there be such a difference? He said 58 to 2, 57 to 3, all 60? So Rabbi Yeshua tells him, why are you making stuff up? You haven't been in yeshiva for 10 years. You're going to tell us what's kosher and what's tameh? So Rabbi Elazar said, I'm right. All 60 of them are going to have baby boys. And this year. And the Gemara says within the year, all 60 women got pregnant with baby boys and they all named their sons what? Elazar. It's a very big tzaddik. So what am I saying this story for? Eventually Rabbi Elazar leaves the yeshiva again and he passes away. And he tells his wife, don't bury me inside the cemetery. Why? Because the rabbis won't deal with my body correctly. They were upset at me. So he said, leave me in my bed upstairs. And leave me like that. Don't worry about my body. It's not going to rot. And the Gemara says for like 18 years, people didn't know that he was dead. They would come to his window and they would ask him a halachic question and he would answer from the window. Kasher, tameh, tahor, pasul. For many years. One day his wife wants to go check on the body. And she sees a worm going from one ear outside the other ear. From one ear outside the other ear. And she starts to get worried. Why? But a worm means what? That the body is starting to rot. Rabbi Elazar comes to her in a dream. And she tells him, and he tells her, don't get worried, my body is not rotting. You know why you saw that? It was a punishment. One time I heard how two rabbis were making fun of another rabbi and I didn't say anything back. So that was my punishment. God was punishing me by sending that worm to go from one ear to the other ear. From one ear, it was kind of like a defilement of my body. Why? Because with my ears, I heard, but I didn't answer back. I didn't defend that rabbi. So that's what the parasha means when it says, Vaya Ekev Tishmin. What's Ekev? God catches a person by the sins and the heels. The sins that we don't think it's going to catch us at the end of the day. So I want to tell you guys one halakha and we're going to end with this. The pasuk says, the halakha says Mishnah Brura. It's a Shulchan Aruch, Siman Nun Aleph. Maran says like this. There's one halakha, many people don't pay attention. It's a chiyuv, it's a halakha, it's a Shulchan Aruch. Says, Tzarich lekaven bepasuk poteach et yadecha. When you're in Pesokei de Zimra, you get to Ashrei, right? When you get to Poteach et yadecha u'mazbeh lechochai ratzon, you must have kavanah in that pasuk. You must. Vim lo kiven, if you didn't have kavanah when you said that, lo yatsa, you didn't fulfill your obligation, and you have to repeat the whole mizmor. You have to go back to the beginning. Ashrei. You have to repeat the whole mizmor. So what is the Mishnah Brura says over here? Wait a second. Let's say I already said a couple of halalukas and stuff like that. Do I have to go back to Poteach et yadecha? In general, what's the kavanah I have to have when I say Poteach et yadecha? When I say Poteach et yadecha, the minimal kavanah is Hashem gives parnasah from the eggs of lice to the horns of Re'em. Re'em is a certain mythical, it's not a mythical creature, but it's a certain creature that's very big. Maybe the biggest land creature. Basically, he sustains from the eggs of lice to the greatest animal, the horns of the greatest animal, the horns, to the highest, basically to the highest peak. So if Hashem could sustain those things, obviously Hashem could sustain me. Now there is specific kavanah that I can have also. Now what's another Kabbalistic kavanah? I have to have kavanah at that moment when I say Poteach et yadecha. First of all, there is a Zohar that says, some people will Poteach et yadecha, and they put their hands all the way up to their head. The Zohar says one should not do that. The Ben Ish Chai says when you say Poteach et yadecha, you should go like this. You shouldn't pick your head up to your head, hands up to your head. You're not allowed to pick your hands up to your head for no reason. Only when you say Al Netilat Yadayim, then you have to pick your hands up to your head. Now, let's say the Mishnah Berurah says, I already said the Halalukas, V'yivarech Davi, I said Yishtabach already. What, I have to go all the way back to Ashrei now because I didn't make Kavanah and Poteach et yadecha? So the Chokhmat Adam says like this. After you finish the whole prayer, then you have to go back to Ashrei, say Poteach et yadecha again till the end of the Mizmor.
But don't you have another Ashrei later on?
So let's say you didn't have Kavanah over there too. Let's say you finished the whole Tefillah and you didn't have Kavanah when you said Poteach et yadecha. At the end of Tefillah, after you finish Shalom L'Shabbat, you have to say again Poteach et yadecha Mazvir L'Chai Ratzon and finish the Mizmor. Now what's one small Kavanah, one kind of Parnasat Tova? Or when you say Poteach et yadecha, Poteach is Parnasat Tova. There's two small Kavanahs from the 72 letters names of Hashem. Poteach et yadecha, the first three letters is what? Pei, Aleph, Yud. That's one of God's 72 names. That name gives you Parnasah. Now, Pei is how much? 80. Yud is how much? 10. 80% is how much? 90. Aleph is how much? 1. 91. Does that word sound familiar? 91 is 26 plus 65. God's two names, Yud Kei Vav Kei and Amonai. Now what's interesting in these two names? How does the name of Yud Kei Vav Kei start with which letter? Yud. How does the name Amonai, what's the letter that it ends with? A Yud also. So the Kavanah is like this. You have to have Kavanah that Hashem gives Parnasah from the first letter of the Yud Kei Vav Kei and it ends all the way at the Yud of Amonai. And that way Hashem will give you Parnasah when you say Poteach et yadecha Mazvir L'Chai Ratzon. Rabbi Yochanan Maksheh Omer, יצא, הקדוש ברוך הוא צעקות